Ghosts, ghouls, specters, poltergeists, spirits. Many names have been given to the presence that can be seen or felt or smelled. But is it real? Or do we just enjoy scaring ourselves?
Join us, Amelia
and Beth,
two cousins trying to figure out history's bumps in the night. Is it residual energy, ghosts, time loops, angels?
We're not going to do any demons, though.
We're here to hear all your best ghost stories from the region and look back at some of the area's favorite legends. So join us and our EMF readers as we try to decipher possible EVPs and talk to some experts in the paranormal realm.
You can find us on Insta or Twitter at Ghost Hunting in New England or email us ghosthuntinginnewengland@gmail.com.
Don't forget to click subscribe and get ready for your new favorite spooky podcast.
Welcome to Ghost Hunting in New England.
Bye. To kind of paint a picture, this basement reminds me a lot of Eric Foreman's basement on That 70s Show.
Eric Foreman's basement was such an upgrade from this. The stairs here, extremely steep, extremely narrow, extremely likely that you're going to fall down.
I probably will fall down them by the end of the night, because that's what I do. I fall. Like my dad said, are you going to fall on every episode? Okay, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
It seems like you usually start, so I think we should keep with that routine.
Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. Welcome to Ghost Hunting in New England with your hosts Amelia
and Beth.
And we're so happy to be here this week. Thank you guys all so much for listening. Thank you so much for following us on Instagram at Ghost Hunting in New England. And we've been loving getting all of your feedback. I also think we should say a very happy Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day, Beth. You're a mom.
Oh, thank you. And happy Mother's Day to all the other mothers out there.
Definitely. So we had a very cool week this week. We had a ghost hunt.
We did have a ghost hunt, and it was a place that had never been ghost hunted before because, believe it or not, it was my mom's house. And I know that that sounds kind of corny, but I lived there for 20 years, and I've seen, well, no, that's not true. I haven't seen anything, but I have heard lots of stuff in that house. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Should we reveal up top or should we wait? We found a ghost.
Oh, there's definitely, but there was no question about that.
We found footage of a ghost.
Yes, we found
orbs.
Spirits in the house that were very interested in Amelia because she's new. And
I'm spooky.
Yeah, she's very spooky. But they followed her around. It was so weird.
So I think that could be partially because I was pretty new, although I had been in the house before.
Yeah, but it's been years. And it's not like you ever spent a long time in there. I mean, I'm over there all the time.
Years.
And
I was at your niece's birthday party not that long ago.
With a whole bunch of other people.
Yes.
But that spirit knows me.
True. It does know you. I don't like to think, but one of the things I do think is because I have had kind of so much paranormal stuff go on around me, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm Reiki master.
That could be it.
So I think that, they see me as very energetic and they are very energetic. And I think that, so a lot of what we caught was we got a lot of orbs, and we're going to talk about that. We have them on video, we have them on stills, and we've spent a lot of time looking at them, a lot of time with other people looking at them. And a big thing about orbs is that sometimes people say it's the culmination. Why can I never say that word?
The culmination?
This is the second time on this podcast I screwed up that word. I need a new word. But it is. It's like, all that energy kind of goes together and you get an orb. So there you go. Let's have Beth, do you want to talk a little about the history of the house?
So I'll talk about what happened with me kind of growing up and living there for a while. So,
yes.
My mom bought that house 20 years ago, and I have two younger brothers and a younger sister. And so we all kind of moved to the house, some of us at different stages, but I was the first one to move over to Mom's new house. And my, quote, bedroom was in the basement. And by having a bedroom in the basement, I meant that my bed was in a corner in the unfinished basement.
Spooky.
Dark, definitely dark. And so to get to the basement, you have to go down these really narrow, really scary kind of crooked stairs, and a lot of people have fallen down those stairs. But
I almost fell down those stairs.
Yeah, pretty much everybody almost falls down those stairs. I'm pretty sure I fell down them once upon a time 20 years ago. So that's where I had my bedroom. And what I would have happen is I would be laying in bed at night and the house would be quiet. And I would hear footsteps go across the floor above where I was laying. And I didn't think too much of it at first until all of a sudden I realized the footsteps never went back the other way. So it was like someone came down and walked from the stairs from the second floor through the dining room and into the kitchen. But they never ran any water. So they didn't use the bathroom. They didn't flush the toilet. It's just that the footsteps would go from one side of the house to the other and then stop. And I would hear them once, maybe twice in the course of a night. But it's not like I heard them every night either. And so I just kind of rolled with it. Nobody else had any issues. I just heard this thing over and over again. And so then a few years later, I moved upstairs to the second floor bedrooms, and one of my brothers moved into my old space in the basement. And sure enough, didn't he start hearing the footsteps, and they would go from the one side of the house to the other. And so we managed to start talking about it, and finally here was someone who believed me that there were these footsteps that would go through the house. So that was the sound that I would hear from the basement. And there was another thing that I'm the only one who's actually heard this happen, is I'd be sitting in the kitchen and I'd be all alone in the house and I wouldn't hear footsteps, but I would just hear furniture in the dining room sound like it had been bumped into. It was almost like whatever ghost, whatever spirit is there in that house didn't like where the furniture was and just couldn't quite get used to it. So I haven't spent as much time over there recently. I actually live next door to my mom's house now. But when I was there a lot, I would hear these sounds. So I'm sure that it's still there only because we saw all of these different orbs that followed Amelia around when we were there earlier this week. So that's my story. That's kind of part 2 of why I'm interested in ghost hunting. We can go into part 1 about when I was a kid at a later date.
So I think we should start talking about the orbs we got. I think we should then move into the EVP.
Sure.
Okay. So the first orb we got, and we're going to, obviously we were recording the whole time we were in the house, and we are going to kind of, we're going to put some of that footage in here. So actually I think this would be a good place to reaction for the orb.
Oh, the reaction to the orb?
So that's where, this is the part we should put that in.
Oh. Sorry about the bright light. You have an orb. Don't say that. You have a freaking orb! Don't say that. Oh, shit. That is horrifying.
So, what that was is I had been taking pictures of Beth, and Beth started taking pictures of me, and when she's like, sorry about the bright lights, because she hit the flash on me. And if you look, and these are again on the website and on our Instagram, there's a double orb over my head, which I was like, as you heard, oh shit. It was spooky. I thought it was spooky. So we've looked at it a few times. I've done a lot of zoom in work. I've been on multiple websites to do what do orbs look like? What is this? What is that? And some people just flat out don't believe orbs exist. So we're going to stay on the top. We acknowledge a lot of people in the ghost hunting and paranormal community don't believe in orbs. But more of us do than don't. And I would say this, when you really zoom in, when you really look at it, it doesn't look like a dust particle orb, which is what a lot of people get is, you have your flash that pings off a piece of dust, and that's where, that shape comes from. This didn't look like that. I think it's also kind of important for us to acknowledge that before this happened, I was not feeling well, which you can hear in this clip.
And I would like to say, and I touched upon this actually last week when we had our news week, that right now I'm feeling extremely lightheaded.
Really?
Which is what typically happens to me when something's going on. So I kind of hope we get something tonight. Every other time I've felt like this, I've gotten something, and the people I'm with have gotten something. But it's definitely I get lightheaded, I get it's almost, I don't know, it's like a cat sitting on my chest kind of feeling, just like a heaviness. Could also be because I was at the dentist today, but I wasn't feeling like this before.
Oh. So it's interesting that Amelia brings up the idea of feeling like a cat is sitting on her chest, and just keep that in mind because we're going to come back to that later when we talk about the EVP.
Yes. And so that was cool, and that was spooky, and it was. So then we were going through other photos, and I was in one, and I was using, on live photos on iPhones, you can kind of go through, they shoot a few different frames of the photo, and then they kind of put it together. So I was going through that, and I saw this, like, green beam, like, wiggle its way over to me, and I was like, what the F? Like, this is so crazy. But as Beth first pointed it out, and she was kind of like, I found this stuff online that says, like, that can happen to iPhones sometimes. And then I put it on my Instagram, and it got way more views than anything else on my Instagram. And a lot of people said the same thing. They said, that can sometimes, you can get the green light from iPhones when you're in this kind of like weird lighting setting. And that's all it is. It's nothing like bad. It's just a little thing that can happen to iPhones. I didn't find anything on it related to the model of iPhone Beth has, but it still could be that, and that's worth pointing out.
And so I definitely think it's worth pointing out. One of the things that I noticed as I went through and looked at, so these little green streaks are in several of the pictures with Amelia. And what I started to notice about them when I was looking at them kind of holistically was the green streak always seems to move in the same direction that my phone is moving in because, nobody sits absolutely still or anything. So all the pictures kind of move a little bit. And when the light was on next to Amelia, the green dot was much more noticeable. When the light wasn't in the picture with her, the green dot, I think it was present in one of the pictures, but it wasn't in most of them. So the green dot, I think, is definitely a lens flare, but the lens flare part of it does not describe the white orbs that we see in several of the other pictures. So yes. I think that we should probably focus more on the white orbs than on the green dots.
Definitely. But, it's something that we feel is important to bring up because, a lot of times in ghost hunting or in any kind of paranormal research, you think you found something. Like when we saw that green thing, we were like, oh my God, like we got something big. But it's called research because you have to research it.
Yes.
And sometimes it's nothing at all, but Apple charging you a lot of money and then giving you green dots.
Right. All of a sudden, every time you point your phone at some sort of light source, there's this weird green dot in it. So thanks, Apple.
Yes. But then as we were still going through our live photos, Beth on her phone again found some, how would you describe it?
Really fast moving orbs because they're only in a couple of the frames of the live pictures.
Yes.
So and it's one of those things that it's like, if I just had my regular old camera that didn't have the live pictures, I never would have seen them. But there's at least 2 and possibly 3 that have these white orbs that just kind of appear and they sit there and then they move just a smidge, but not in the same direction. They don't appear to move in any sort of collaboration with how my phone is moving.
And it's a very smooth movement, which is something some people have pointed out to me with the little green light we saw. They're like, orbs don't move like that. Like orbs move in kind of like a smooth fashion. It's like a direct thing. So these were very smooth. It wasn't like all over the place. So that was interesting. That was very interesting. And then the really cool orbs, my favorite orbs that we got, my absolute favorite. So we were upstairs before we went into the basement. We were setting up. So we set up a camcorder upstairs to see if we could, if we did hear the footsteps, would we see anything move? Or, Beth had reported hearing furniture move slightly. We were going to see if we can catch any of that. So we set this camcorder up at against the wall so we could see straight through to the other side of the house. It's not that big of a home. So you can pretty much get the entire downstairs in a shot. So we're in there and we're setting it up. And right at the beginning when we're up there, you can look, and we're obviously going to post this. This is like the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. We're up there, and you can just see this bright white, almost like a gold tint, just bing across the screen.
Mm-hmm.
It went from the back of